We're a week into the new school year and local districts are already seeing COVID cases. I'm Zach Dodge with details and where local experts think transmission may be happening.
Plus, Freeman Hospital officials talk about a treatment aimed at keeping COVID-19 patients out of hospital beds. And a Missouri judge blocks an attempt to reinstate the extra federal unemployment benefit.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Local school districts report students testing positive for COVID after the first week of school. This is KOAM News at 6. Districts in Jasper and Newton counties have seen positive cases among students and staff. They've had to quarantine several students as well. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details and why a local health department isn't surprised to see the numbers.
22 students in Neosho are currently not in school, under isolation after testing positive.
The cases that we have seem to be somewhat isolated and controlled.
9 of them on the first day.
That first day we were somewhat alarmed and what we found out, and those are students that called in and said, you know, we're positive.
Other than that, the highest increase from day to day has been 5 from August 31st to September 1st.
I haven't really pinpointed as to where most of these kids might have gotten it, but certainly the ones when we asked them, there's no clear, a school staff member or a schoolmate had it, and then we were in contact with them.
Larry Bergner at the Newton County Health Department isn't surprised by the cases.
We expect to see positives.
And it isn't just in Neosho. As of Friday, Joplin had 17 positives among students and 135 students with quarantine designations. And Carthage had 10 positives with 47 students being quarantined. At least in Newton County anyway, Bergner expects the year to look about like it did last year.
September, October, we saw increasing numbers, and as we got into late October, November, we saw a rapid decline.
If we can manage like we are right now to keep the case level low, I think we'll be okay. I think if we see a spike in cases, we'll be looking at other solutions.
Those other solutions in Neosho would be requiring masks if 7% of students in a school test positive, or closing schools if positive student cases reach 10%. In Neosho, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Right now in Neosho, 0.5% of students have tested positive and 1.6% of students have been identified as close contacts. Freeman Hospital today hosted a COVID-19 briefing. At that briefing, Freeman officials talked about the monoclonal antibody infusion therapy offered at the hospital. The therapy is meant to keep high-risk COVID-19 patients out of hospital beds.
Test positive, those are the ones that we can get into our infusion center and basically get that on board. And we try to do that anywhere from the first day up into 10 days after they've tested positive.
Freeman says they've seen an increase in COVID-19 patients of all ages that have a higher need for care. An Oklahoma judge says she is temporarily blocking a state law banning public school mask mandates, but that personal exemptions to mask wearing will be required. Judge Natalie Mai's ruling drew praise from Governor Kevin Stitt, who opposes mask mandates without exemptions, and from Dr. Mary Clark, president of the Oklahoma State Medical Association, which joined the lawsuit challenging the law. Stitt says the ruling is a victory for parental choice, and Clark says it allows schools to maintain local control. Mai said the injunction will take effect next week when she issues a written order. Chris Warner, weather not too bad out there.
Not too bad at all, especially compared to what we saw over the past couple of weeks. Right now, Skywatch Storm Tracker showing us how great the weather really is. There's nothing going on out there. Got to head off to the northeast in order to find anything. They're dealing with the remnants of Hurricane Ida. They've had tornado warnings, 5 confirmed tornado reports so far in that area, and still dealing with tornado warnings and tornado watches. Nothing like that around here, thankfully. But we do have a heat advisory for parts of northeastern Oklahoma, not affecting the rest of us like we saw a week or so ago, actually just a few days ago even, thankfully. As we head through the overnight, we're going to dip back down into the lower 70s by midnight. The rest of us are going to see upper 60s to about 70 for overnight lows. And that is going to thankfully be the way it's going to stay for at least a few days. We'll have the full forecast here in just a few minutes.
Catch you then. A Missouri judge has refused to reinstate federal unemployment benefits that were cut in June when Governor Mike Parson pulled out of several programs. Cole County Circuit Judge John Beatham said the court would not substitute its judgment for that of the governor. The ruling by Beatham came a day after lawyers representing Missouri residents who lost the jobless benefits asked for reinstatement with back pay. The enhanced benefits added money to the unemployment checks for out-of-work Americans to help ease the crunch caused by shutdowns for the COVID-19 pandemic. But some Republican governors, including Parson, ended the benefits to try and prod people to rejoin the workforce. The head of Oklahoma's Medicaid agency says the $164 million appropriated by the Oklahoma legislature for Medicaid expansion remains untouched in an agency savings account. Oklahoma Healthcare Authority CEO Kevin Corbett told legislators the agency has used savings generated from Medicaid expansion and federal funds so far to pay for expansion. Corbett told lawmakers an estimated 700 to 800 Oklahomans are qualifying each day for health coverage under Medicaid expansion, although he expects that number to slow down in the coming months. As of Monday, Corbett said about 170,000 people had qualified for Medicaid under the expansion. Overland Park, Kansas police announced yesterday evening that a 23-year-old officer who was battling COVID-19 has died. Officer Freddie Castro tested positive for COVID in July.
Sad. He fought till this afternoon when it was time for him to go. I mean, he was here for 37 days. 35 of those days on that ventilator, and I tell you, to see what he has gone through and the shape that he was in, no one should go through that. This virus is not to be taken lightly.
Police Chief Frank Donchez released a statement on Facebook, quote, "It is with a heavy heart that I share that Overland Park police officer Freddie Castro passed away a short time ago. Freddie was young, enthusiastic, and so proud to be a police officer. He left a lasting impact on our department, and we will miss him. Please keep Freddie's family and friends and his OPPD family in your thoughts and prayers." Still ahead, Missouri Southern takes a closer look at the film Godzilla and its impact on culture in the U.S. and Japan, and how MSSU is celebrating area high school counselors. Hey, a winning lotto ticket was sold in Joplin, just not to a Joplin resident. A Jefferson County, Missouri man won $50,000 when he matched 4 out of 5 white ball numbers as well as the Powerball in Monday's drawing. The man says he, quote, "about flipped," and that he got really lucky because he bought only one ticket. The ticket was sold at the Murphy USA on 7th Street in Joplin. As part of Missouri Southern's Japan semester, students today learned about an iconic Japanese film, Godzilla. At a seminar in Corley Auditorium called Godzilla Unbound, students learned about the film's cultural impact. The original Japanese version of the film wasn't just a scare-fest monster movie. It featured allusions to the American atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Godzilla Unbound is just one piece of a larger mission at Missouri Southern this semester.
Be intrigued by some aspect of Japanese culture and perhaps want to learn more and study on their own. And so they're just getting a brief taste of Japan today. We have really 40 more events yet to come. It's just the beginning of our Japan semester.
Other events this week included a sidewalk chalk contest and screening of the film Ikiru. Elsewhere on campus, folks were celebrating the work of area high school counselors at Counselors Appreciation Day. The counselors were given the opportunity to learn about new scholarships, housing, and academics. For the university, the day is a potential recruiting tool.
that we have rekindled their excitement for Missouri Southern and go back and tell their students just how many things Missouri Southern has to offer for them. And I hope that they come back and bring those students with them so that we can further Missouri Southern.
The counselors were entered to win one of 5 $1,000 scholarships that they're allowed to use as they see fit. Later, Missouri Southern plans to roll with a freshman as its starting quarterback as they prepare to open the season tomorrow. We're going to hear from the head coach, Atiba Bradley, about his signal caller.
But first, another warm but not so hot day for us today, and some changes on the way. We'll break them all down next. Well, another warm, almost mild day today compared to what we have seen over the past couple of weeks. And that trend is going to thankfully continue. Unfortunately, there are some side effects of this cooling trend. Over the last 36 hours, we started out 69 Tuesday, made it up to 88, and did almost the same today. We started out at 70, warmed all the way back up to 88 degrees in the metro area. Speaking of the metro area, 7th and Range line, starting to get a little hazy, a little bit dark. Temperatures still sitting up there though. 86 is where we're at. A light northeast breeze makes it feel like 90 with a dew point of 69. Humidity is at 57%. That's kind of the trend across the area. What we have noticed is if you go from northeast to southwest, 10-degree temperature difference from Stockton to Veneta, 83 up there, 93 in Veneta, and we still have some dew points that are up there across the area. Most of us have dew points that are in approximately, as you see, the 70s, low 70s, upper 60s, and taking all that into account, that still keeps it in that sticky to muggy range for most of us. So we have heat index values to go along with that, and again, same thing. No heat index in Stockton, 85, but as you head southwest, it gets warmer, and that's why they've got heat advisories for some of our friends in northeast Oklahoma because it's going to stay warm for just a little bit longer. Through the evening, we're going to dip back down into the lower 70s by midnight, most of us in the upper 60s to about 70 degrees for overnight lows. There's those heat advisories that I was talking about. Thankfully, the whole map isn't covered in them as it had been over the last couple of weeks. Skywatch Storm Tracker, nothing really happening in our area. However, if we track way off to the northeast, they're still dealing with the remnants of Hurricane Ida, and in fact there's a tornado warning heading in New Jersey, and they actually have a tornado emergency associated with that, so they've been dealing with some nasty weather from those remnants of Ida. Down here, we haven't been dealing with the nasty weather, but we do have some changes, and that's going to bring cooler temperatures, but unfortunately it might disrupt some of your Labor Day weekend plans. Starting the day tomorrow in the lower 70s, as we mentioned, there's some of these pop-up storms like we've been seeing over the last several days. They'll dry out, move on, and we'll see another round of those. You see this big string of activity off to our northwest, making it into our northwestern counties. So we're talking Yates Center, maybe to Parsons, Fort Scott. May see a few more thunderstorms on Friday. And as we head through the day, they clear out. We get a few more of those pop-up storms. Temperatures don't look too terrible. And then you see more activity, and this starts to increase. This is Saturday morning. Thunderstorm activity increasing across the board, and it's going to remain that way, unfortunately, through the weekend. But what that's going to do for us, feels like temperatures tomorrow nowhere near as high as where they've been. And as you can see, the map colors went away, but you can see still temperatures not looking too bad. Here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. So we get into Friday, storm chances begin to increase, temperature still 94. We head into Labor Day weekend, temperatures drop, storm chances go up, but look at some of these overnight lows, 65 Sunday night heading into Labor Day. And that's the nice thing, Labor Day, we may have some morning remnant storms from Sunday, and then it's going to clear out, warm up to 92 before summer makes a very harsh return by the middle of next week.
Oh, well, the temperatures would be pretty nice this weekend.
No, not too bad. If you're outdoors when it's not raining, it shouldn't be too bad.
Thanks, Chris. Coming up in sports, Jacob Leonard joins us to talk quarterbacks for Pitt State and Missouri Southern football. And the Miami War Dogs aim to do something they haven't done on the football field since 2005. We'll have details next.
The Miami War Dogs play their home opener this Friday against Jay. Now, Miami is 1-0 to start the season after beating Dewey 30-24 last week in their season opener. Now, last week's win, it was a big one for the War Dogs. It was their first win since 2019. It snapped a 19-game losing streak for the program. Now that they've got one win under their belt, this young War Dogs roster will try to start the season 2-0 on Friday against Jay. something they haven't done since 2005.
Well, it'll just be a huge confidence builder. I mean, it's what these kids need. It's not going to be athleticism right now that we're lacking in. It's just the maturity and just some self-confidence, knowing that they're still capable of doing it. They won at the grade school and middle school levels, and that's a total different ball game. But now you have 14, 15-year-olds, facing 18, 19-year-olds, and that's a big maturity division right there. But if our kids can find a way to fight and win right now, the future's really bright here at Miami.
The Pittsburgh State Gorillas and Missouri Southern Lions will both open up the MIAA season tomorrow night. The Gorillas will be on the road taking on 13th ranked Central Missouri. We're talking quarterbacks for Pitt and Southern tonight. For the Gorillas, sophomore Max Sexton is back under center this fall. Last fall, in the team's 4 non-conference games, Sexton threw for just over 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns and 3 picks. Now, if you've ever talked to him or seen him play, you know he likes to sling it, so he's a big fan of the new offense under head coach Brian Wright.
I like throwing it around. I mean, it fits my style, and I think he enjoys it too, moving the ball down the field in chunks. Yeah, I like throwing it all around the field.
He's picked up our offense well. He understands what we're trying to do as we move the ball down the field, not only in the passing game, but in the run game, and counting how many defenders are in the box and so forth. So he's done a good job of that.
As for Missouri Southern, they'll be on the road against Nebraska Kearney to open the season tomorrow night. They have a new head coach in Atiba Bradley, and they'll be rolling with a new quarterback in Dawson Hurl, a redshirt freshman out of William Chrisman High School in Missouri.
He's very poised. He very rarely gets rattled. He's a guy that has a very short-term memory. A bad throw doesn't affect his next throw. He's a guy that has a lot of confidence for his age to be able to step into a huddle and demand the respect and the attention of the team. And so when your signal caller has those attributes, it's a very good thing.
The St. Louis Cardinals wrap up their 3-game series with the Reds tonight. The two teams are playing a doubleheader to finish today after Game 2 was rained out yesterday. The Cardinals won Game 1 5-4 earlier today. Game 2 just now getting started in Cincinnati. There's no score yet in that one. We'll have an update from the game right here tonight at 10. In the American League, the Kansas City Royals hit the field tonight for Game 2 of their series against Cleveland. The Royals dropped the opener last night 7-2. Tonight's game begins at 7:10. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Time now to honor a local veteran. Private First Class Walter Rarick served in the U.S. Army. The Paola, Kansas native was stationed in Europe during World War II with the 101st Airborne. And we are proud to salute Private First Class Walter Rarick. He's tonight's four-state hero. Jordan Abbey joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Tonight at 9, several local companies say they're having a hard time distributing oxygen for medical uses. Plus, one day after President Biden declared the end of America's longest war a success, Pentagon and State Department officials weigh in. Also, macaroni and cheese ice cream. Gonna learn where you can get some. That, of course, much more coming your way tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Okay, a lot of people like mac and cheese. They like ice cream. I don't know.
I'm not sure about combining the flavors.
No,
why do you gotta mess with it, man?
Right,
It's like so good separate. Why you gotta
Exactly.
Exactly.
You got to ruin it for folks.
Weather's pretty nice.
Weather is pretty nice. It's going to stay that way. Unfortunately, as we head into the holiday weekend, rain chances increase, but temperatures decrease before we see a sharp return to summer by midweek next week.
Final sports notes.
Former Webb City Cardinal Zach Davidson was released by the Minnesota Vikings yesterday, but he has re-signed to the Vikings practice squad, so he's staying in Minnesota.
Good for him. Let's see if we can get some action out of him on the football field eventually. We'll see you at 10. Let's make it a great evening.